Guys, have you tried Vite Ramen? I love these noodles. They're high in protein and fiber, which is nice, but most importantly, they taste delicious. Now, these guys have another product to get excited about, Naked Nudes. These are high-protein noodles that make up the base of Vite Ramen and now are sold as a separate product. Naked Nudes by Vite Kitchens has 23 grams of high-quality plant-based complete proteins, more fiber than 2 cups of broccoli, and they're loaded with B vitamins and iron. Naked Nudes were created with the approval of registered dietitian nutritionists because eating healthy should be effortless and delicious. If you're looking for instant protein, instant nutrition, and instant satisfaction, give Vite Ramen a try today. Visit viteramen.com/Chael or just click on the link below. Do not forget to use the promo code Chael at checkout. That's going to give you free shipping in the US and 10% off. Compare 2003 Wanderlei Silva to Justin Gaethje of right now. You ever thought about that? And I'm sure some of you have. And I admit I stole that from a headline on the Underground Forum, but it was an incredible piece. And the kids are going back and forth. And I just like to weigh in on that. That's an incredible piece. When you talk about the history of MMA, and we go in eras, right? It is an anomaly, the Wanderlei Silva era. I mean, it's one, when you talk about the scariest guys, or you talk about the toughest guys, or the guy that legitimately was the best in the world, sometimes you leave the Wanderlei part out because it's so obvious. It's for sure him. He is for sure the scariest guy, right? I mean, you could stomp. Remember the rule set, though? I mean, it's one of those things where you can't reasonably ever catch Wanderlei. Even if you go, well, this other guy, and you say the other guy, the rules are of such that Wanderlei is forever put into this special bubble and placed over here, right? I mean, he is for sure the scariest and the most dominant. You never really knew who the best in the world was. That's the problem that we even have today, because we don't do a lot of Grand Prix or a lot of straight line brackets. So it just gets a little bit tough in combat. You have the political side of it. You have the bureaucracy just to be given the opportunity. But we did know back then, didn't we? Because we knew where Sakuraba stood. And they not only matched them, they rematched them. So we did know who the best fighter in the world was, and that goes to Wanderlei Silva. And I only bring that era up because when you bring up that era and you look at Justin Gaethje is, finish that sentence. Now, before you finish the sentence, you've got to understand whatever comes out of your mouth is probably going to have a debate. Justin Gaethje is the toughest guy ever. Justin Gaethje is the most exciting ever, is an opinion that a lot of people have. But you're going to have an argument. I don't know if that's true for everything. For example, let me make this statement to you. Justin Gaethje is the most reliable guy in the history of the sport if you're looking for determination, if you're looking for excitement, if this sport is about grit, if this sport is about down and right and tough, and my will versus your will. Many guys at some point will leave that in the back. And I'm talking top guys, tough guys, scary guys, skilled guys. At some point, the lights just get too bright. Or the calendar goes by and the years just get too much. Justin Gaethje brings whatever it is he has 100% of the time. And he's the most reliable. You can never count on a guy to do that. Tough guys, great training camps. You can't count on a guy to do that. It's a very weird thing in this sport. It's fighting, which is rare. But then fights that you see around town are spontaneous. This is the most colossal difference from the tough guy that you know that sits on the corner at the bar versus the guys that you see in the octagon. Is the ability to know what's coming and wait for the moment. Very hard to do. Whereas they'll spring off that stool and go with anybody. It's a different thing. Justin Gaethje knows. He knows he's going to be a main event. He knows he's going to be a co-main event. He knows he's taking on a Russian. He knows that he's going to have to do it in England. He knows that he's an underdog. You guys had him an underdog, guys, 3-1. On Thursday of last week, he was 3-1. I realized the fight went off at 2-1. He touched, at DraftKings, he touched 3-1, and you did that. You bet against him. To this day, I don't know why, but sometimes you got to be reminded, right? Because eventually, what I'm saying right now, it will be too late. Eventually, that calendar goes by and those years go on and it's over. We're just not there yet. So what do you do with him? What do you do with Justin Gaethje? This was very clear that the UFC had massive hopes for Fiziev, who, by the way, looked awesome. Fiziev looked awesome. I do not give him a hard time. He also brought his skills. He also brought his determination. He brought the excitement. He brought the grit. He wasn't as good of a fighter. So what do you do with him? There was hopes and thoughts that this can be the guy that we can elevate to take on the guy. We can have Russia versus Dagestan, right? We can have civil war. But we got to get him through Justin Gaethje. We got to get Fiziev that one big win on the right pay-per-view with the right eyes. And this was it. And it didn't happen. I say that because I don't give Fiziev a hard time. That he looked great. It just turned down to who was better. The answer of who's the better fighter, Justin Gaethje. But what do you do with Justin? The same time as there was this very clear thought and hope that Fiziev could get shined up and be ready to step into that main event spot, there wasn't talk around Gaethje. And the reason for that is he's already been there. Real simple, right? We have some things in this sport, in this industry, that we can just turn to, where we can look at trajectory. We can look at history as the greatest trajectory to the future. There's things within the sport, and you, having had the opportunity, is one of the things that we can look to, showing that you're not going to have the opportunity. With the ultimate theory that nobody's ever put out there. Nobody's ever laid this out for you. The ultimate theory that we as human beings and athletes don't get better with time. Therefore, if we have the opportunity over here and for whatever reason we don't have the belt today, it would make no logical sense that we could possibly have it later in life, so let's not even give the guy the chance. Okay, I'm not actually complaining about that. That makes really good logic to me. But what do you do with him? The mere fact that Justin Gaethje was a co-main event is a bit of a surprise to me. He's not the champion. Champion's on the right. You got to do everything right. I'm just sharing with you. What are you going to do with him next? You going to co-main event him again? Really? Okay, if it's a pay-per-view, go ahead. Let's co-main event him. But what are you going to do? You're going to have to put him with somebody really good. And what happens if Justin beats that guy? He knocks that guy off. Is Justin a gatekeeper? That's blasphemy. What? Well, I'm asking you, is he? If we're going to co-main event him in his next fight, which we can do because it's not a championship match and it's going to be on pay-per-view. Okay, fair enough. But we're going to find a co-main event spot for him. Or worse. Or he's third from the top. What do you plan to do with him? Okay, great. Who do you plan to do it against? And if Justin beats whatever that answer is, which is going to be a nice, shiny trinket, we then do what? We move him into another co-main event spot against another shiny trinket at some point. He proves to you, just because most guys don't get better and because most guys were over here doesn't mean it's the case with me. You know how hard Glover Teixeira had to work, not just to get back in there for a world title fight against Jan Blachowicz. You know how hard Glover had to work to beat the stigma that he had the opportunity already. And now he's too old to even try. It took him a long time, guys. It took Glover almost 7 years. Took him almost 7 years of beating a stigma, not opponents. Never surprised when he went out there and got his hand raised. But even when he got his hand raised, he's now older than he once was. It's one of these tough spots. So what do you want to do with Justin Gaethje? It's a simple question by me, and I'm not looking to trick you, but I do want an answer. And if your answer leads to anything that starts to sound like the definition of gatekeeper, I would encourage you to stop and understand that is blasphemy.